I look out across the water, I smell the salt and feel the breeze, but in my heart I hear the calling of my old home, Tennessee. We don't know where these rivers flow, or why the wind chooses when and where to blow. The sun is gonna rise each and every time, but I've still got Tennessee on my mind. From Reaper's Fork to Watertown, and maybe Johnson City or Memphis bound. No matter where I go, no matter what I see, I still hear the calling of Tennessee. And who we to know where these rivers flow, or why the wind chooses when and where to blow. The sun is gonna rise each and every time, and I've still got Tennessee on my mind. I miss the smoke on the Cumberland and the fireflies at midnight, and the color of the leaves in the fall. Who are we to know where these rivers flow, or why the wind chooses when and where to blow? The sun is gonna rise each and every time, and I've still got Tennessee on. Yeah, I've still got Tennessee on my mind. Yeah.
Hey guys, we just made it to Mammoth Cave. We got about an hour until our tour. We're just going to take a hike and see where we go.
enter the cave is a man-made entrance. We're going to walk in about 1/8 of a mile, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to come back out 1/8 of a mile. In the 1/8 of a mile that we travel, we have 6 stairs that are mandatory going in and 6 stairs that are mandatory coming out. And as long as you're able to do 12 stairs, you should be okay as far as the ups and downs go. There is an optional side trip we'll talk about when we're inside the cave that adds an additional 98 stairs, 49 down, 49 up, but you don't have to do those if you don't want to. And then also, as we're going into this entrance, we're going to be going into some areas where there will be low ceilings. The shortest, narrowest place that we go through on this tour is called the Onyx Colonnade. It kind of hits me about chest height. I go through about a 25-foot section of cave, kind of bent over like this, maybe sidestepping in a spot or two. It's, I don't know, maybe 3 feet wide. It's not like super, super tight. But you should be aware of that if you've got anybody with bad back, bad knees, anything like that. If you have any concerns about doing that, talk with me before you get up on the bus. But if you will, go ahead and get your mask on, get your tickets ready. You'll be showing your tickets to the bus driver over here. Loading up. It's Kevin.
Record this part. You want to show them the tickets? Or no?
Alright for me to carry on carrying.
Hi guys. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Hello.
Let's sit here. You good?
And that's where George first started going into cave. It's also a man-made entrance. He was a pretty sharp guy. He figured out in the 19-teens, while he was here just like you, a visitor, going into the natural entrance of Mammoth Cave on a cave tour, that they had to be taking tours beyond the property line on the surface underground. And so he began to break in at night and make illegal surveys to find out where those passages went. But as we make the curve here, if you look out the right-hand side of the bus, you'll see that kind of brownish red rock. That's the sandstone. Sits up here on top. Keeps all the water out of most of Mammoth Cave. Allows Mammoth Cave to have all those levels. And what's happened over time here is we've got about 4 ridges that have multiple levels of cave inside of them. And the folks that do the exploration today, the Cave Research Foundation, over the years, since really the 1970s when they found the first big connection, have been finding passages that go under the valleys that separate these ridges. And when they find those connecting passages, they're, connecting 2 already known pieces of cave. So 1972, Mammoth Cave Ridge that we're driving on top of right now, there was only about 40 miles of cave here. All right, folks, right over here is where we're going to be going in the cave. I'm sure when you thought cave entrance in your mind, you thought a door in the side of a hill. Like I said, this is man-made. This was made in the 1920s, about 1925 or so, when a man named George Morrison had some guides working for him. He owned this property and owned the caving rights that kind of surrounds this property at that time period. We didn't become a national park till 1941. So in the 1920s, you had this guy that privately owned the surface and owned what was underneath the surface. And he was leading cave tours through. And they were going into an entrance about a half a mile up the hill there. We passed by a little bus loop up there, and that's where what we call the new entrance is at. That's where he was taking tours in. And they discovered this section of the cave that we were about to walk into. And once they found it, he had it surveyed, and he figured out that he was very close to the surface, and he made another entrance, another opening. So he didn't have to backtrack and go back out the same entrance he was coming in. He could have a through trip. And that was really the first time that was possible here at Mammoth Cave. Before George was here, the only way in or out of Mammoth Caves was through the natural entrances, and the only one that we knew for sure at that time period that connected to Mammoth Cave was the natural entrance over where the visitor center is at. They started tours over there in 1816. George had to compete with somebody that had a tour operation that was 100 years old, and when he found what we're about to see, he was really able to truly compete with what they called the Mammoth Cave Estates. So this is a special area we're going into. Before we head in, I got to go over this little list of rules and warnings. They're all the things that we expect from you while we're inside the cave, things to keep us safe, things to protect the cave while we're down there. First one here says if you have a heart or breathing problem, you have poor circulation, difficulty walking long distances, negotiating stairs, consider your limitations before entering the cave. You're going on the shortest, easiest tour, so I'm guessing that you probably considered that before joining on this trip. I will say, if you do have a problem on the trip, let us know. We want to catch small problems before they become big problems. And the really good thing about this entrance is we're so close throughout the entire tour that we can just turn you around and get you back out of the cave right away, as opposed to our longer trips that we go through. Cave is going to be dimly lit because of the dim lighting. A couple of rules. Flash photography is prohibited inside Mammoth Cave. We ask you to turn the flash off. You're welcome to take pictures, but turn that flash off. And also, if you have a flashlight with you today, personally, I don't mind if you use your flashlight as long as you're doing so with consideration of others. Basically, don't walk around shining the light at everybody's eye level. If you want to shine it on the floor to see where you put your feet, or shine it on the wall where nobody's at, that's perfectly fine. Just be aware where you're pointing it, whether you have it on or off. We want to stay on the trail at all times. If you get off the trail on this tour, you've done something special. Most of the places we're going to be today is got handrails and all that good stuff. So just stay on the trail, watch your step. There will be some water in this section, so be careful. Could be a little slick. Use the handrails. We need to stay together as a group. Typically not too big of a problem on this trip, but stay with the folks that you came with or who brought you in the cave today. We could have lights go out or something like that. It helps us out if we're near people we know when that happens. Let's see here. Of course, don't litter in the cave. Don't take anything from the cave. Everything you see down there, leave it where it's at. Even if it looks like trash, leave it where it's at. We have folks that go through and pick that stuff up. Don't write or mark on the cave walls. We ask that you not touch the walls or the ceilings of the cave. And that's especially important in this section of the cave. Formations we're going to see are created by water. You have oil on your skin. Oil and water do not mix. You touch the formations, enough people touch it, it stops its growth. And you will see where that has happened. You'll see some polished formations and some stuff that's worn down pretty smooth. We don't want to add to that damage. This was heavily visited in the 1920s, heavily damaged in that era. And last but not least, when we come out of the cave, we'll load up on the bus, and when we ride back to the visitor center, they're going to drop us off in front of what we call our white nose mat. And the white nose mat is basically just a big sponge. It's got soapy water in it. We got a disease here that hurts bats, and it's caused by a fungus that grows in the cave, grows on the bats when they hibernate in the wintertime. Doesn't hurt us, but we could potentially pick it up on our shoes, leave here, and carry it down the road and introduce it to other bats in other places. So it's just a precaution. We walk across this soapy mat to wash the dirt and stuff off the bottom of our shoes before we leave the park. Anybody have any questions about the safety stuff? Nobody ever does. You be the first. One thing I will ask you to look at, we are going into a hillside. And you can see there's a nice slope going up. This hillside is the reason we're going to see these formations going in here. We'll talk a little bit more about that once we get inside the cave. But that's very, very important to understand why we're about to see what we're going to see in this section. Follow me, we'll head on in. we're coming in here, our eyes are adjusting, we're beginning to see all these beautiful formations around us. Who can tell me, what is it when it hangs from the ceiling? Stalactite, that's exactly right. If it comes up from the ground, what do we call that? Stalagmite, very good. All right, now you figure those two out, the rest of them are pretty easy. When it flows down the wall, anybody know what we call that? Flowstone. Flowstone, hey, we got one over here, flowstone. So all this stuff on the wall, you see flowstone. This big guy right here next to me, that's a flowstone. If it hangs from the ceiling like a stalactite, but it's just a little thin, hollow tube that looks like a soda straw, what do we call that? A soda straw. Yeah, you're catching on now. All right, so if it looks like a little ribbon or a piece of bacon on the ceiling, like these guys right here, what do we call that? Bacon or ribbon formation. Some of that stuff we just passed back there look kind of like popcorn stuck to the wall. What do we call that? Popcorn, yeah. What you're looking at, no matter what these formations are called, is all created by essentially the same process. It's just a variation in how the water is flowing into the cave. Really, the water coming into the cave is not just water. That rainwater outside, as it falls through the atmosphere, it runs over the ground, it picks up something. It picks up a little bit of carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide actually turns the water into a weak acid. That acid is strong enough when it comes in contact with certain substances, it can have a chemical reaction, and it can help break things down. One of those things that it comes in contact with here in Mammoth Cave is the rock that's around us. Anybody know what kind of rock this is inside the cave? Limestone, very good. Limestone rock is what you're seeing inside the cave. And that's pretty common. Most caves form in limestone. And the reason is limestone is made up of calcium. And calcium and acid react to each other. And it actually breaks the rock down. Now, if that water flow coming in is moving fast, it's going to create a cave passageway. It's going to carve away at the rock and make a tunnel or a passage. But if it's coming in slow, it comes into a room like this and hangs there long enough that that little drop of water will release whatever carbon dioxide is still in it into the atmosphere of the cave. And once that happens, it's just water and it can't hold on to those minerals anymore. Sometimes that doesn't happen until it drips to the floor. Sometimes it's as it's running along a slanted ceiling, creating these ribbon type formations or drapery formations. We'll see some of those up ahead. quick stop before we exit the cave. A lot of times people come down here, they get to wandering around, and they start asking questions that I think are kind of, I don't know, I think it's funny they wait till they get in the cave before they ask these questions. We get questions like, do rocks fall in the cave? Of course rocks fall in the cave. You've got to have something that causes the rocks to fall. So most places you're at in Mammoth Cave, there's not enough going on to really just cause rocks to fall for no reason. So it's really rare. I don't know if anybody's actually seen a rock fall as it was falling. Follow me, we'll make our way on out here.
Is that dark? Dark.